Hi everyone, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, or actually maybe a bit longer than that now, I did a video on how to choose a new hairstyle, and I said that I would take you through on my own journey to changing my hair, and I kind of talked through the things that, the things that I was thinking about doing to my hair and a couple of bits of inspiration. So this is a second video in the series. Sorry it's taken so long, but I got ill and then other things have taken over. In fact, it's been so long that my roots are starting to come through, but you will see in this video my colour when it's freshly done. And also, I got a few minutes with my colourist, John Spanton at Trevor Sorby, who is absolutely lovely and he's been doing my hair for a couple of years. I trust him 100% whatever he does with my colour. So I thought he'd be a very good person to talk to about the kind of things we need to think about when we're changing our hair colour or considering changing it. So I will drop in some little bits with him. Some of you have seen him before on my vlog channel and I'll link to that below as well. If you haven't seen the first video in the series, then I'll put a link to that below as well so you can watch that. You don't really need to watch them in order. So this is about choosing a new hair colour, so I'm going to go through some of the main points. Now, the first thing to think about, I think, is whether you want to go very drastically a different colour or whether you want to keep it in the same kind of tones that you've always had. Now, for me, as a model, I can't really drastically change my hair colour actually, so that really narrows it down for me. But then I have had every single blonde from literally platinum white blonde, I'll try and find some photos for you, right down to the darkest blonde, which is probably what I have underneath here. It's almost brown, but it's not brown because it's ash, so it's the very, very darkest blonde that you can go. I kind of knew that I had to stick within blondes, but that is a very, very wide range, and also you can have warm tones, you can have cool tones. So I spoke to John a little bit about how to work out what kind of tones would suit you.
We're generally drawn towards colours that work for us, because when we put them on and we hold them up to ourselves, it kind of livens the skin. Mm-hmm. And if you're a cool colour and you put on a bright yellow top, it'll make you look a little ill. Mm. You'll look a little bit under the weather. Another thing's a good telling point is the type of jewellery that you wear. If you wear gold, you're probably warm. If you're silver, you're probably cool. Now, not everyone gets it right. We should also take some advice from people who do know better. But most of us get it right, so we know whether we're going to be on a cool palette or a warm palette.
Now I think another thing to think about is maintenance. So if you're doing a very drastic colour change, you know, if you've naturally got blonde hair and you're going black, or you've naturally got black hair and you're trying to go blonde, the initial outlay for making those changes could be quite expensive actually and very time consuming, and you have to think about whether sometimes every 2 weeks you want to be retouching your roots. If you've got very dark hair and you go platinum blonde, you'll start seeing little dots of black. And in fact, even if you've got my kind of colour, it looks very, very black when it grows through. And you'll start seeing that within really a week or kind of 4 or 5 days. And I found that when I had very, very blonde hair, it looked like little fleas or ants or something on my scalp, and it really, really bugged me. So you have to be prepared to be very high maintenance if you're doing a big colour change.
If you're going darker than a natural colour, you kind of really have to consider how much makeup you're prepared to wear on a daily basis.
So the darker you go, the more foundational stuff you might need to wear.
Yeah, it needs to be more of a full face of makeup more regularly than not. Mm-hmm. Because the hair colour can start to wear you rather than you wearing the hair colour. And it can look too heavy.
So I think it's just about talking with your colourist and really, really take the time to talk this through and make sure that what you're going to get suits your lifestyle, suits your budget because it can be very expensive, and suits the amount of time that you have for kind of beauty maintenance. Now finally, if you're going to be getting a haircut and colour, there are some things to think about, like whether you do your colour before your cut or your cut before your colour.
If I was being selfish as a colourist, I would rather colour the haircut when it's complete for a bigger change. Because then you're actually working on detail that's specific to that haircut once it's complete.
Okay, so in an ideal world, go and get your hair cut first and then come in and see your colourist maybe the day later or 2 days later.
Yeah, whatever.
Once it's settled in.
Yeah.
There might be a certain colouring technique that suits what you're doing, so it's very important to kind of think about the two of them together. And then finally, back to me. So I spoke to John about what he was going to do with my hair.
So what we're kind of going to work on today is we're going to touch up a little bit in certain areas on the existing colour. Then we're going to dry the hair off. Then we're going to work on balayage technique. The balayage, French technique, very popular in the States, becoming increasingly popular here. So the whole point of balayage is quite personalised, and you can pick up certain areas. And instead of having a sort of standard highlight, which is what we usually do and works very well, you take key areas and you lighten those areas.
We'll kind of go to the highlight for the little bit around the finish, just to kind of clean up and kind of deal with the usual sort of so just get kind of a more even balanced colour. And what we'll do is kind of in here, where we still have some of the highlights from before, we'll maybe take some of that dark thing, but we'll kind of do it quite loosely. Just so we're matching to the a little bit.
So it's going to be it's going to be quite textured.
Yeah.
And then here I am having my colour done, and you can see John painting the colour onto boards, which is kind of how they do the balayage, and really just very kind of loosely freestyling it, I suppose. And I normally have very fine highlights all the way through, but because I'm going a little bit shorter with my haircut, whatever happens, I'm definitely going shorter, obviously, because it's being cut, but I'm definitely, you know, having a good few inches off my hair. I think this will just blend in really nicely. So it's just doing something a bit different, I suppose, and a bit fresher. And then here I am with my new colour, so looking really lovely, and you can actually see it here as well. You can see that he's picked out kind of not streaks, but just where the sun would naturally highlight the hair. And I think that it's actually a really nice natural look, because the sun doesn't bleach our hair in a uniform way, so it works really well. So there we go, lovely little session with my colourist John. I'll put the link to him as well underneath. You can follow him on Twitter too if you fancy saying hello. And yeah, so getting my hair cut tonight. As you watch this, I'll probably be getting my hair cut because I'm going after the salon closes. And then I've just got to kind of edit and upload the videos. So because I'm going away, it might be a couple of weeks' time. So hang on for that, that will be very exciting, and make sure you're subscribed, and I shall see you next time.